So chat, basically, we've talked about WWE adding secondary titles to WWE. We saw them do it with NXT. We've heard rumors and rumors and rumors of them doing it on the main roster. Tiffany Stratton was speaking with Gorilla Position, and she was asked about them adding a secondary women's title for the Raw brand when it moves to Netflix in January 2025. She thinks it would be a good idea because NXT has one. But the thing that's very interesting is that she says, like, we have so many women in NXT, but we also have so many on the main roster. She feels like it would be a good idea. And she thinks a Netflix championship would be a great idea. And I don't know how you guys feel about this, chat, so you could let me know. But I do not want to see WWE add a Netflix championship. Okay? I do not want to see that happen. I do want to see mid-card title belts, right? I do not want to see a Netflix title belt. I do not want the Netflix logo on a title belt. I don't want WWE to do this gimmicky thing. If you want, you could do a women's TV championship and put that on SmackDown. But I don't like the idea for a Netflix championship. Listen, chat. I think 1,000,000% women should have a secondary belt to go after. The roster is deep. And AEW has actually done a really good job of having the World Championship and the TBS Championship. And I feel like having the TBS Championship does actually feel like a big deal. So I think WWE should do a secondary title for the main roster for the women. I think they have the roster for it. Like Chelsea Green right now isn't going to become a world champion just yet. But if they had a mid-card title, she would be perfect for it. Piper Niven, Mia Yim, Candice LeRae. There would be a roster that is deep enough for it to happen. Tiffany Stratton, she's probably going to cash in Money in the Bank and be successful with it. But my point is, I do see it working out for WWE if they were to do it. I don't want to see the Netflix logo on the belt, though. I'm just being honest. I don't think that's a good idea. I do think it's a good idea for WWE to do a mid-card belt for the women because, quite frankly, I think it would be... There's two reasons. One, I don't care for the women's tag team division. I know WWE has done a better job this year of booking the women's tag team division initially compared to when it initially launched. But I do think it's one of those things where in WWE specifically, like, naturally there are more singles competitors in the women's division. And then instead they're getting thrown into women's tag teams. It's just not that exciting, in my opinion, in comparison. But that's one of the reasons why. And then the other thing too, I always remember when Becky Lynch was holding the NXT Women's Championship and she was having those matches on Raw with the NXT Championship. To me, even though it was the NXT World Championship, it clearly took a step back away from the Raw Women's Championship when she was holding that belt. So it kind of felt like there was a secondary women's title belt, and I liked that. I really did like that. So I do want to see WWE do it. My opinion on this has never changed. I have been adamant every time the topic comes up about WWE adding a secondary women's title. Like, I get excited about the idea, and I'm reading the chat, guys. I see what you're saying. There's too many titles. They need better storylines. Yeah, I mean, listen, the roster is deep enough for it. The women's roster on the main roster is deep enough for it. But is there enough layers and depth to tell good stories for a mid-card title on the main roster? If we look at NXT, for example, the Women's North American Championship is pretty exciting. They have a nice division there. And I feel like if WWE were to replicate that on the main roster, I think it would be good. And really, if they want, just copy AEW. I mean, the TBS Championship for the women just feels like a big deal. Sometimes even more than the Women's World Championship. Not all the time, but sometimes it feels more important than the Women's World Championship. So when AEW introduced the TBS Championship for the women, I feel like they did a good job. Not always, but for the most part, more often than not, whoever holds that TBS Championship has done a relatively good job. So I can't see why it doesn't work in WWE. I can't. Now, you got to have one for Raw. You got to have one for SmackDown. I do understand that perspective, that it could be a little too much. But you got to remember, Raw and SmackDown are treated as separate entities because of the brand split. So I am one of those people who are, I support the idea of them doing it, but you can't get rid of the brand split to do it. You can't get rid of the brand split. And I talked about it the other day on the channel. I can't see them getting rid of the brand split when Netflix comes around. I hope that's not the case, because I like the brand split personally, but I can see them getting rid of the brand split. And if they get rid of the brand split, I don't want them introducing women in mid-card titles. I think you need to do the brand split. I think Raw and SmackDown needs its own identity, and I think those mid-card belts need their own identity. And I will say it, it's the third time I'm saying it, but I don't genuinely believe that a Netflix championship is a good look for WWE. I think it's a little too gimmicky. I think the TNT and TBS championship are a little too gimmicky too, but I just think in general, have a name for it. Come up with something creative. Have something come up for fun. I feel like sometimes WWE misses the opportunity at times to be a little more creative with things like this. You know? So a women's TV championship might be something a little different. Or, like, I don't even like the idea. I've said this before. Women's US title, women's intercontinental title, making it the same belt with the white strap. I don't like that idea. I know why WWE does it. It's a merchandising thing and it's an IP thing, and I get it. But I don't like that idea either. So let me just make that clear. Do I agree with Tiffany Stratton? It's a good idea. Absolutely. Is Tiffany Stratton pushing for this? Yes. Do I think they should do it? Yes. I've heard rumors that they will in fact do it, but there's a right and wrong way of doing it, and I don't know how much confidence I have in WWE doing it, because they have shown us. Raw has the World Championship. The women's belt is the same thing, just white strap. Same thing with the North American Championship. Same thing with SmackDown's WWE Championship. WWE is probably going to do the same exact thing for the women's mid-card belts. That's the thing I don't like. But the idea, great. The way they execute it, maybe I'm just being a little reactive, but maybe I don't have a lot of confidence in them to execute it that well in terms of like the title, name, and the belt, look, and stuff like that. So yeah.